So, The Walking Dead, we're in season 4. This is episode 3. So, this starts with just a little recap. They have this virus. Yeah, flu. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Going through the prison. And so, they're trying to quarantine those that are sick so they're not getting everyone else sick. And because they know at this point that when someone dies, they turn into a walker, that everyone has the virus. And so, it starts off with Lizzie, who is not sick, talking to Carol through what I assume would be where a prisoner would talk with their family.
Yeah, it appears to be. It seems to be a private visitation room.
Yeah,
because it's just a room with plexiglass where they
right. There's not the phone that they're picking up or anything.
So
they can hear each other through the glass. Yeah,
some kind of private visitation room. It seems but she's let's see. They're talking to each other, and Lizzie's telling her what's going on, and she's talking about how she's at one point talking about how she believes that when people die and come back as walkers,
there's still
it's not
people.
Yeah, well, she thinks there's still some way the same person. They're just different. They just come back as a different kind of entity. And Carol's saying, "Oh, that's stupid. You're stupid." Essentially, that's what she's saying.
And then she tells Lizzie, put your t-shirt behind your knife, because she has her knife attached to her pants.
Yeah.
And you pointed out it's not a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's not a t-shirt she's wearing. It's a long sleeved shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a t-shirt. I don't know what exactly that is, but that's not a t-shirt.
And then Lizzie says yes, Mom. I mean, ma'am.
And Carol's oh, I hate you so much.
She's don't call me Mom. But she has a good point, because throughout the series,
oh yeah,
every time Carol has a kid, something disastrous happens to them.
Yeah.
And
so it's actually
you don't want to call her Mom. You don't want her to be your mom.
It would be better to just be on your own.
Yeah.
In the wilderness than have Carol as your mother, because something terrible always happens to the children she adopts.
Yes, yeah. I think there was something that I forgot to put on our list, but that's okay. Okay, so then there's a group of them. Who else in the group that's out?
Oh, it's Daryl and Bob and Tyrese and Michonne.
Sasha's back at the hospital. Right,
she's sick.
At the prison. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're out searching for. Do you remember what they're searching for?
I don't remember. They're searching for medicine to help with the flu. I don't remember specifically what they're...
You're right.
I think they're looking for something somewhat specific, but I don't remember what.
So, but obviously they've been around walkers for a long time. They know what to expect. They come up to this, this building, I guess.
I think it's a garage or something.
Okay, and it's, covered in vines, right? Mm-hmm. And they're trying to, get through it. And they finally get it open, and they're
Well, first, Daryl looks in the window of this garage, and then a walker pops out and starts growling and stuff.
Oh, right. So
he looks in there.
They know that there are walkers in there, and so they get the door open, and then they're totally surprised that there are walkers in there.
They seem like they weren't expecting that. It seems like it's a bit of a surprise, but they knew they were in there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really make sense that they're taken aback by that.
Yeah. And, okay, so while this is happening, Rick is also out with Carol.
Yes.
And they're, going through these houses. And they meet this couple, this young couple. And they have peaches, is that right?
Yeah, they meet these, hippie people. And they've been... so they go in this house, and... I think... Okay, so Rick found out that Carol murdered let's see, it was Tyrese's girlfriend, and then there was like someone else, but I
Yeah.
don't remember who it was. Someone else that she killed them and then burned them because they had gotten the flu before the rest of them.
Yes.
So she was like trying to preempt
she
it
said
by
she's trying to save
brutally
everyone.
murdering them.
And like
But she
burning
failed.
them.
Yeah, but she failed because it still spread. So she
Right.
murdered them for nothing. So then like Rick brought her on this trip, like ostensibly to scavenge for medicine and supplies, but I mean in reality to ditch Carol out
Yes.
there
Oh,
because
yeah.
because he's decided that she's too dangerous to live among civilized people. Oh, and he says that like Tyrese would kill her if when he finds out. So then, what?
Oh, I think I said at the beginning that Lizzie was not sick and Carol was, and I was.
Was it okay? No, yeah.
I don't think
maybe it was
Lizzie is
I don't think she was
sick.
sick, but maybe she was in
But
with her
yes.
sister.
Yeah.
who was
yeah.
sick.
She's in there like
Yeah.
helping Herschel and
Uh-huh.
Glenn and Sasha and stuff like that, like trying
That's
to help
true.
the sick people.
Because then Carol leaves. So yeah, I guess that was right. Anyway, so then like Rick and Carol go into this house, and then they find these two, like this young couple, and they're very dumb, and they've just been like hiding in a room because there was a walker outside,
Yeah.
and they didn't want.
Yeah, and they're like,
they
we
didn't
only
want to
have
confront it.
6 bullets, and it takes us.
I think they said 12, but yeah.
I thought they said 6, but
No, I
that's
think
okay.
they have 12
But-
between them.
Okay,
yeah.
but they say like it takes them like
Yeah, it
multiple
takes a lot.
rounds. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like they're bad shots. But
Yeah.
they're like, do you want a peach? Like
Yeah,
they're kind of obsessed
there's
with
there's like fruit
peaches.
trees. There's like
Yeah.
gardens in the neighborhood. They've like been picking fruit
Mm-hmm.
from fruit trees. Yeah, and they've got this fruit.
And so this girl has this like mangled leg.
She got trampled. Or what was it? It was
Yeah, they got.
Oh
she
right.
got
Well, it was
trampled.
like yeah.
And that's
yeah,
how they met.
She got trampled, and then her leg didn't heal correctly. Yeah, So she's and she's got this very noticeable tattoo on it.
Yeah.
That is important as a plot point later.
So they're like, can we come to your camp? Blah blah blah. And Carol's like, Rick is like, well, we have to take this stuff back to our camp, and like we have to do these things, and we'll come back for you. And Carol's like, or you could just help us. Like Carol just interjects. And so they're like, okay, we'll do whatever you want. And so these two go on a little like side mission of whatever Rick and Carol told them to do. And Rick and Carol keep scavenging for medicine. And then they like come back to the house and they hear walkers, and they go around the backyard and they see, as you were saying, the leg with the tattoo.
It's her very cleanly like severed leg. Like it's just
Incredibly
like
cleanly
it's just like cut off below
Yeah.
the knee, so it's just like her leg,
And then like I don't know.
and then a little like across the street,
Uh-huh.
it's like the walkers are eating a corpse, which is presumably her.
Yeah. And it's just like, wait, how did her leg get severed?
Right.
Why did none of the walkers go for
Yeah.
her leg? That
It
just-
doesn't make sense.
No.
It's just to say, oh, it's definitely her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't actually make any sense because one of them would have eaten it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it somehow got torn off. Well, because the only way that would have worked is it was torn. She was attacked. It was torn off. But then she like crawled or hopped to the
Right.
other side, like
And then
20
they got
feet
her.
or something, and then yeah.
Which
But
just seems
one
unlikely.
of them, if it was multiples, I guess if it was one, but one wouldn't be able to pull her leg off like that. If it was one, I guess it might just chase her and forget about the leg. But no, it doesn't make any sense.
And so at the end of this episode, Rick goes back. That's this episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rick goes back to the prison, and I
Yeah.
think it's Maggie's like, "Where's Carol? Where's Carol?" And he's just like, "She was too dangerous to stay with us."
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the end of the episode.
Yeah, and let's see.
Like, not a whole lot happens in this episode.
Not really. I'm like with the group that's searching for medicine. Is it this episode where
They find out about like Bob.
where Bob has
I
the
think
bottle
it is
of
this
booze in his
one.
bag,
Yeah.
and then Daryl gets up in his face and breathes on him.
Yeah, because they like, yeah, I think it is this one because they like are getting swarmed by walkers and Bob's about to fall off the roof, but he's holding on to his bag and Daryl's like, let go, like trying to pull Bob back, and Bob refuses to, and then they find out it's because Bob had alcohol in his bag.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah,
But this team doesn't make it back in this episode.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a very eventful episode.
No.
So then episode 4, the subsequent episode. Oh, so it opens. Is that?
It opens with the...
Oh yeah, I don't remember who's driving. I guess that was like Daryl's group.
I think so.
They're like driving along the road, and then there's a pack of wild dogs eating a walker on the side of the road, and that seems kind of suspect because the idea that the dogs would eat a walker seems kind of unlikely. It would smell horrible to them. Mm-hmm. They should be aware that this is something incredibly rotten.
Yeah.
And dangerous to eat. Like they probably shouldn't be that desperate.
No,
but if they were and they ate it, they would die.
Right. And we talked about this, that like the dogs wouldn't come back as walkers, but
they would die.
Right,
yeah.
right. Because like the walkers are so diseased that's what kills someone. The bite. It's like all the diseases that get in their body. So it should still kill the dogs, even though they're not going to come back as walkers.
Oh yeah, the walker meat should be rife with disease, and it should kill anything that eats it.
A walker dog does sound kind of cool. I would like to see that.
Yes, that would be interesting.
Okay. So back at the prison. Yeah. Inside the prison, like the disease is starting to get worse and it's starting to spread more, and people are having to be intubated and people are like not conscious, and Herschel's trying to help everyone and Glenn's trying to help him, and Sasha is, and everything. And so Herschel's like going around in the evening and he's closing the jail cells, but he's not locking them.
Yeah.
Like, he's just closing them, which seems pretty stupid, because if someone died from this and you didn't know, the walker might be able to, like, mess with the gate enough for it to come open if it's not locked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he just locked the doors, then...
Everything that happens
they
in
would
the
die.
episode,
they would die,
right.
but there wouldn't be any real danger from walkers. Yeah, which is, what happens. They start... let's see. It was that one guy who came back first, and then several of them started resurrecting.
So if I remember correctly, there was one guy who's like, I think it was maybe his kid. He knew his kid had died, and he just tells Herschel that he's sleeping.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, oh no, he's fine. Like, I'll close our gate. It's okay. And then that guy gets like distracted by something else, and then his kid like reanimates and goes out and attacks, and it just starts a rampage of attacking. And while this is happening on the outside, there are so many walkers like trying to get into the prison that it's pushing down the gate. Not the gate, I'm sorry, the fence. The fence, yeah. And so like Maggie and Rick Grimes and Carl are trying to secure the fence, and they're putting up these big logs to try to like hold it up. And then because of the walker rampage that's starting inside of the prison, they hear a gunshot, and Maggie's like, I gotta go save them, and runs off. And so it's like, it's just Rick and Carl, and they're doing a pretty good job. Like, there's like a ton of walkers outside the fence that are pushing it down, but they're doing a pretty good job putting these logs up. But then one of the logs gives and breaks, and Rick just like runs over to the fence and he tries to push it up with his hands. One, there's walkers on the other side. Two, like the log could not hold them. why do you think your hands, like your own body strength is going to be able to? Like, that's just stupid.
It is.
And eventually they get overrun, and like Rick and Carl just have to...
They start shooting the walkers.
Right, and just like running away and like abandoning that section of the prison. The outside of the prison, not the inside of the prison.
But they also waste a lot of ammunition when they shoot them.
Yeah.
Like they're not really doing it in a very practical
they're not.
way. Yeah.
And excuse me, some of the walkers that are chasing them during this part are like actually really fast. Like they're like walkers from season 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I was like, that doesn't really fit with the walkers we see nowadays.
Yeah. And let's see. So then let's see, some of them are in, like, the ones who were reanimated in the cell block, and then they take care of them. And I think, doesn't it seem like Glenn died at one point, but then he's not, of course.
Right. So, like,
Glenn... He's very sick, and...
Glenn was, like, doing the airbag for someone else, and then I don't know if he like loses consciousness or if he just like starts coughing really hard and then he can't breathe, and Lizzie's like, Herschel, and like yelling, and the one that he was doing the airbag for actually did die and then reanimated. And so then Lizzie's like, come here, and she's like tempting this walker, which is getting away from Glenn, which is good. And then she falls, and the walker like tries to fall on top of her, but then rolls into some...
It's like on the fence material that's like on the...
Like
it's like above the
fishnet,
door.
like,
it's like above, it's like...
Yeah. And unfortunately, this walker still has an intubation tube in. So, like, they have the puff bag, but not the intubation tube.
Oh, and they have to get it back.
They have to get
Glenn.
it back
That's
for
right.
Glenn.
Yeah.
And I think, doesn't Maggie get it?
I think so. Yeah.
And then as they've killed all the walkers and Herschel's like going to like start closing all the gates and stuff like that, he sees Sasha on the ground and thinks she's dead. But she's not. She's just like really weak and passed out. And then I think at the very, very end of the episode, Daryl's group shows up with medicine.
Yeah. And of course, I think like almost all of the non-main characters are dead by that point.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember if there might have been a few others who survived, but like I can't think of any.
Right.
Like pretty much everyone from Woodbury that they had in the prison at the beginning of the season, which is like, I don't know, 50 people or something have died. And it's pretty much just down to the main characters again.
Yeah.
Which is really, really very lazy.
Like, why did you even bring them on?
Yeah. I mean, they should have just said, oh yeah, they're like living
They're
over there
doing
now.
their own thing now.
And they could have basically ignored,
Right.
Could have basically ignored
they're
them
gonna make
for the
their own
couple of
civilization.
episodes. Yeah, because it's only a couple of episodes.
Right.
Just this
That we're still
beginning of
here.
the season where they're still at the prison and where this like is still, where it would still be like, oh, what are they doing in Woodbury, Yeah. So no, I thought it was very silly that they like bring them all to the prison, but
Just
then
to
they're
kill
like,
them
well,
all.
we don't actually know what to do
Right.
with any of these extra characters.
Was Bob from Woodbury?
No, which doesn't make sense because in the books, like that's where he's a different character, but like the one from the books was like the old man who was from Woodbury.
Okay.
But in the show, they say that they just like picked him up along the road at some point in between the end of the last season and this one.
You're
like
right.
they just
You're
like he was
right.
just like
So
his
he's
group
not
had
even-
been wiped out.
It's not
and he was
even like
just-
he's a character from Woodbury that joins
like I don't
them.
think there's any, there's
That's
no one
funny.
important. Yeah, which is kind of strange because if he was, I feel like that.
That would at least give us a reason.
At least it would have seemed like there was some purpose to that. At least then it's like, okay, one of them.
Yeah.
One of them lived, but no. And I think Herschel is kind of, I don't know. I feel like he's not as annoying as Dale, but he is.
You really hate
Yeah,
Dale.
Dale is very yeah. But Herschel's also kind of stupid sometimes because I think it was in this episode where he was like earlier on he was saying, "Oh, we can't bring like we have to wait until everyone's asleep to like take the corpses of the people who have died out." So, so like people don't...
I think this was a previous one before Glenn got really sick, but
That might be.
I
don't
know what
these
you're
two
talking
episodes
about, yeah.
are pretty boring, and they kind of run like this whole flu arc
for
just
sure.
kind of runs together. But anyway, at one point he was, and it's just like, well, everyone ended up dead anyway.
It doesn't really
So I don't think it
matter.
really, yeah. I just he's an annoying old man. not as bad as Dale, but also kind of frustrating.
That's pretty much all of Consequence for those 2 episodes.
Yeah, and they cure the remaining people. And then I think, let's see, does it ends, like the very end is like they're healthy and like Rick is outside. I think, is he like looking at his little garden? I think he's out there with Herschel, and they're like talking about something, like how Rick wants to be a farmer still or something like that. And then it zooms out and it goes wah, 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 and then the governor's there, and then the episode ends.
Oh, I
to like set up the
about
next
that.
one. It's like
forgot about. Okay, yeah,
that's
you're
like
right.
the dramatic end.
What was that sound again?
It was like wah, 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 wah. I think
Nice.
that's pretty close. Thank
Nice.
you. I think that's what it sounds like. Yeah, and that's the end.